Wow, what an incredible year. What an amazing year. A wild 2021 in which I definitely continued to make YouTube videos and definitely did not have back-to-back every game I played in X year videos on this channel. Definitely not. Okay, so I guess I should explain why I haven't been here for an entire year, or not. You know what? Maybe not. I don't know anyone any explanation at all. But here you go, anyways. Yeah, I, like many other YouTubers, am a human being with other priorities in life. I'm a computer science student, and university was starting to kick my butt. So in an attempt to focus my energy and time into actually a degree in computer science and useful knowledge, I quit the YouTube for a little bit and quit my actual income job, and just focused on school for a while. But in that time, I somehow crept over 1,000 subscribers and enough watch time to make me eligible for YouTube monetization again. So I made my first YouTube paycheck of like $100-something, all while doing pretty much nothing on the channel. Actually nothing on the channel. Wow. Thank you so much. That's incredible. Am I back to weekly or bi-weekly uploads? Probably not. But I'm back at least for this one video, because I like to wrap up the year in a nice little bow, and I think looking back at all the fun times I had in video games is a good way to do that. And also, YouTube is threatening to take my monetization away if I don't upload again. So yeah, hey, there'll be at least one upload in the next 6 months as well. Because I don't want to lose the slow trickling pile of pennies coming into my AdSense account. So without further ado, here's every single video game I played in 2021, starting with the games that didn't come out in 2021. Real quick. They're not going to get too much time because I feel like last year's video, they went on for quite a while. Real quick, lightning round. Go fast. Zoom. Go fast. Exit intro. XCOM 2. It's a great game. If you have a single strategy game inclined bone in your body and you haven't played XCOM 2, what are you doing? It, with the War of the Chosen DLC, goes on sale for like $10 all the time. There's 300 bajillion mods for this thing. Incredible game, incredible experience. Modding gives it so much life. Thank you, XCOM 2 modding community. Caves of Khud. Their price is about to go up to $20, close to their 1.0 release as they approach the exit of early access. But if you're at all inclined to this type of game, that's an incredible value. I just love this game. It's a delightfully obtuse at times open world roguelike adventure with really great original lore and all sorts of dynamically generated and simulated nonsense. It's incredible. Star Renegades. It's a fun little roguelike RPG. But personally, I wish it had a little bit more variety. Maybe it's gotten more content since I played it back in February. But altogether, it's just a solid little RPG game. Remnant from the Ashes. It's a neat shooter that hits kind of a sweet spot between solid gunplay elements and Souls-like elements. Definitely has some lows, including the final boss in my opinion. But hey, solid overall and a great time with friends. FTL. If you haven't looked at FTL modding in a little bit, there's a project called Multiverse that has like a 300 bajillion things in it. It's basically FTL2. FTL itself is an incredible game. It's incredible that people are modding it as much as they are, considering the game was never intended to be modded. Real cool stuff. Risk of Rain 2. This game is great. The new content they dropped this year is great. Bandit is really cool. I love stacking cooldown reduction and becoming permanently invisible. Very fun. Can't wait for the new content. Apex Legends. Basically what I said last year still applies. I like to pick things up off the ground. I like to match gun attachments to gun. All the Battle Royale stuff is just a nice engine to keep that action going. Very fun. Orcs Must Die 3. Oh my god. How did I miss this game? I played it with a friend. A really great tower defense game with really fun little traps and stuff. It can really get you panicking if it catches you off guard. Good stuff. Skyrim. Skyrim is still my go-to vacation game, but I don't know how much longer that's going to be the case. I tried to get back into it once more this year. Couldn't, but the second time I tried on another vacation, I did. It's a very familiar comfort place, but maybe it's getting a little too familiar for me now. Hopefully, Starfield Elder Scrolls 6 can take its place as the vacation game when they come out, but who knows. Noita. Why didn't I play this game before? Completely up my alley. All those obtuse interactions, all those weird wands and all the modifiers and how they interact and how they stack, and customizing a wand to make it incredibly busted and the game actually expecting you to be incredibly busted. Tons of cool little secrets. Definitely a game I should have played earlier. Terraria. Again, they just keep putting content into this game. It's okay, Relogic. You can stop now. You're not even charging. What are you doing? Just stop making content. It's okay. You're done. No one would blame you if you just disappeared. Great time with friends. Learning how to host it on my little server box. Very fun. Good times. Minecraft. Again, hosting this on my little server box, playing with friends. It's a great time. There are a lot of mods out there with incredible depth. A great thing to spin up every once in a while when you get the itch. Neo 2, a very, very good Souls-like game with really cool, fast-paced, engaging combat that really forces you to be present and aware of all your options and movement and your stamina and everything. It's a little too big brained for me. There's a skill tree and it's huge and but great time. League of Legends. Do not play League of Legends. My warning remains. Do not play League of Legends. I am just stuck. It is inevitable I will eventually drift back to this game. Do not play League of Legends. Dota 2. Why did I start playing Dota? Compared to League of Legends, Dota 2 does a lot of stuff that League of Legends is just afraid to do. There are so many little intricacies and complexities of Dota that League of Legends has just polished away and decided the game is better without these kind of things. Whereas Dota says this is the game. This is the heart of the game. The Aghanim's Labyrinth stuff they did is really fun. It's incredible. The game itself is really fun. Those complexities and that wildness of this game is something I like a lot. But Dota 2 is the game that convinced me that, you know what, maybe chat in video games was a mistake. I turned it off in Dota. I've just been turning it off in every game. Do not talk to anyone on the internet. Ever. Dota is the perfect example of why it's a bad idea. Teamfight Tactics. Teamfight Tactics is a lot of fun. The augment system in the latest set, Gadgets and Gizmos or whatever they're calling it, adds a lot of variance and makes every game really unique. The double up mode is a lot of fun. I've had so much fun playing this, especially if your teammate is as crazy and will int as hard as you do. It's great. It's a great time altogether. Magic the Gathering Arena. Oh boy, this is embarrassing. I know last year I said that the monetization was too bad and I was eventually gonna break and check out Magic Online. And the monetization has arguably gotten worse since then with the addition of like Jumpstart Historic Horizons and Alchemy, which add artificial rotation to Historic, even though Historic's supposed to be a non-rotating format. To be fair, they did add a Historic Brawl queue, which is all I played for a really long time. It's a lot of fun. I'm not sure how I feel about the Alchemy changes and the rebalances and the digital-only cards affecting Historic and Historic Brawl. The format seems fun for now. Probably still going to play Magic the Gathering Arena and not move to Magic Online. It's just so much cleaner, Magic the Gathering Arena, even though it's buggy and terrible in a lot of other ways. That doesn't mean I'm okay with the monetization. Doesn't mean that Wizards can't improve it. Doesn't mean that I can't be critical about it. Wizards, make your game better. You can do so much better. Kamigawa's looking sick though. Rimworld, another one of those why didn't I play this earlier games. It's a really great game. Very complicated. Took me a little bit to pick up. The whole game is a wonderful collection of intricate systems that interact to create really good emergent gameplay and stories. Definitely something I should have played earlier. Dungeons of Dreadmore. Now here's a roguelike that showed up around the start of this roguelite renaissance that we've been having. Really great, absurdist humor. Simple, but surprisingly in-depth and really interesting gameplay. Really reminded me of why I like this genre of games so much. Definitely something that fans of roguelikes should revisit every once in a while. And that's every game that didn't come out in 2021 that I played in 2021. With that out of the way, with all the bookkeeping done, let's move on to the main event. Games that actually came out this year that I played. Celeste Classic 2. Did you know that Celeste, that very popular platformer game, started out as a super minimalist little platformer for a virtual machine called the Pico 8? I did at one point, but I completely forgot that I played this version of Celeste. To celebrate the 3rd anniversary of Celeste's release, they made a little sequel to this original version of it, called Celeste Classic 2, Lonnie's Trek, which has all that slick platforming and adds a grappling hook. I'm not very good at precision platformers, but what little of this game I did play, I enjoyed it a lot. Mostly because of the sick soundtrack. Loop Hero. It's very rare that you see a game that is as original as Loop Hero, but still made of these very familiar components. It's a really cool collection of fun little mechanics in a very stylish pixel art presentation. I just wish maybe there was a little bit more to it. Maybe some more decision making or a little bit more depth. More interesting loot or complex tile synergies or something. I don't know, maybe this additional complexity would kill the magic of this game. Unbeatable White Label. This is a demo for an upcoming little indie rhythm game. We see glimpses of a story that will probably make me cry. The soundtrack is great and original, and the gameplay is solid. Can't wait for full release. Naraka Blade Point. I played this during its open playtest. It's a battle royale with a focus on melee combat and grapple hook mobility. I really just bounced right off this one. I don't know, nothing seemed interesting or deep or different enough for me to really just care at all. A little unpolished at the time I was playing it, but again, that was an early playtest. I don't know, I don't think I'll be revisiting this game. Back 4 Blood. I think for me, Back 4 Blood was kind of dealt a bad hand. If it just played as simple and clean as Left 4 Dead, then I would just play Left 4 Dead. The whole cards system is interesting. The stats and attachments on guns is interesting, but these things bring it away from Left 4 Dead's beautiful simplicity. It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. I feel like I would have kept playing this if I had more friends that were interested in it, but I don't, so it got abandoned. Wildermyth. Here's a fun little one. It's a tactics game with a focus on storytelling. Characters change with story events as the campaign goes on, and their characteristics affect gameplay. I had an event that turned one of my characters partially into living stone, which was really cool and made them more durable but slower. Characters that fall in love can have children, which can join you on future generation adventures. At the time I played it, I felt that maybe it could use a few more events. I think they've added those since. I'll probably revisit this one in 2022. Assemble with care. Here's a very short, very small tactile game about putting things back together, wrapped in a short story about fixing relationships. A game that is very small in scope, but I still think definitely worth playing. Sword of the Stars, The Pit 2. The original Sword of the Stars, The Pit was a really fun little roguelike that had a lot going on for it. Very, very hard, tough as nails. Sword of the Stars, The Pit 2 right now is extremely early access. I'm going to wait on it. I bought it and played it purely out of the goodwill earned from the first game. This one is a come back to later. Humankind. It's Civilization 7. Do you like Civilization? Here is Civilization made by somebody else. It does a few new interesting things, but not enough to really make it different to Civ in my mind. Sure, the specifics are interesting, but nothing is unique enough or cool enough to really set it apart from Civilization. For me, at least. Darkest Dungeon 2. It's Darkest Dungeon. It really is. The transition into the 3D art style is great. Just like the original Darkest Dungeon, it is grueling. Things spiral out of control. We are very, very much in early access now. I can't wait for more content and a few balance passes, maybe. Can't wait for more. Pokemon Unite. A fun little fast-paced MOBA. It's a good time. Didn't really hold me. The progression and monetization in this game is a little whack. But I did like this different take on the MOBA genre. I like that it is hard capped. You know exactly how long any match is going to last. There's very little downtime. You're almost always constantly fighting or positioning for objectives. There's a lot of depth for a lot of characters considering how few buttons there are. A good time. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. Pokemon games are just a solid, guaranteed, chill time for me. I get to walk around, I get to see the place, I get to catch the dudes. Very, very much catch the dudes this time because I played through with only the Geodude family of evolutions. That was fun. I don't think my recommendations and the things I value in Pokemon games are the same things that most people do in Pokemon games, so I'll just say that I had a good enough time with it. Alright, coming up next is the games I very, very much loved this year, that came out this year, but before that, a little bookkeeping. Here is the list of shame. Every game that I purchased with my own money, but did not play. Did not even launch once. Let's start with Rift Wizard. It was cheap. Exactly looking like my kind of game. I think it's a roguelike with depth or whatever. I'll get around to it. Tribes of Midgard. This one isn't my fault. I'm pretty sure a friend baited me into buying this game and never played it with me. Same thing with Demio. I have VR. I think I was baited by a friend who also has VR, and then we never played it. It's not my fault. Crying Suns. It kind of looked like FTL, but then I just kind of played modded FTL instead. I'll get to it. It looks good. Sunless Skies and Sunless Seas. I'm pretty sure they were sold together in a bundle and were very cheap. And I like roguelite adventures, and I will definitely play them eventually. Cyber Shadow. It looked cool. I like pixels. I don't know. I probably play this one. I don't know. I don't like Ninja Gaiden. It just looked really cool. I'm sorry. Morrowind. Look, I played Morrowind 300 billion years ago as essentially an infant. So revisiting it will certainly be wild. I'll probably need it for like Skywind or something. I remember reading something like you'll need a copy of Morrowind for assets or something. Definitely a purchase that is worth it. And last but not least, Halo, the Master Chief Collection. I'll definitely want to play ODST again sometime. Yeah, I'll definitely launch that eventually. Moving very quickly on, here are my absolute favorite games of 2021. Monster Hunter Rise. Now, I've always been a fan of the Monster Hunter series, and watching it evolve so much with World was an incredibly exciting thing for me. And I was really interested to see how much of those changes and evolutions would stick around. So with Monster Hunter Rise, I'm excited to report that they seem to be staying for good. Rise takes World's fluidity and quality of life improvements and all that good stuff and continues that trajectory while adding new movement options that accelerate the game even more. The smaller maps are quick to traverse, but they're a lot more dense and vertical, so you don't feel like you're missing out on space and unique areas. I'm really excited for the DLC coming in 2022 and the PC launch. Oh god, I'm going to buy this game again for PC. Deathloop. Deathloop is a game that takes that familiar, Dishonored, immersive sim assassin formula and pushes it into new, exciting, fast territory. If you want to play this stealthy like a Dishonored game, you can. Except you don't have to spend all your time dragging around bodies to hide them. You don't have to worry about lethal versus non-lethal. And if you mess up your stealth, you can just go loud for a while, and the game doesn't punish you for it. The game isn't even really all that much harder that way. It's just a different type of challenge. The online component of this game, the multiplayer Juliana invasions, are really cool. Sometimes both players will be sneaking around, trying to hunt each other, like luring each other out by making noises in one part of the map, but actually being somewhere else looking at that part of the map trying to snipe the other one. Juliana can disguise herself as NPCs, and as a player you have to think, is that the correct number of NPCs to be wandering this courtyard? Sometimes an invader will just chase you down with a machete, and figuring out how to best lose them and then get an angle where you can shoot them is really, really cool. All this while having that tension of trying to get that perfect loop is an incredible experience. And the characters are great too. The dynamic between Colt and Juliana is really interesting, and at times the writing is genuinely hilarious. Every single one of your targets is a magnificent asshole in one way or the other, and you feel really good about killing them over and over again. The world ends with you too. This was one of my most anticipated games of this year, as I was a huge fan of the original on the Nintendo DS, and I wasn't disappointed. So this game is a new, original action JRPG, but so much of it feels straight out of the original, but still somehow new and fresh at the same time. It's hard to explain. The original game came out in 2007 and had this street fashion and music aesthetic that you think would feel dated now 14 years later in 2021. But somehow here comes The World Ends With You, 2, walking in wearing the same clothes, listening to the same music, and it feels just as fresh and just as modern. I can't tell if the original was that ahead of its time, or that this game's aesthetic is somehow invisibly updated. In any case, The World Ends With You 2 is a brilliant game that is somehow simultaneously faithful to the original and boldly new at the same time. Halo Infinite Campaign. Halo Infinite's going to get 2 sections here, even though I have similar feelings about both of them. Story-wise, I think this is really solid. I can understand some complaints that people have, but Master Chief as a character is more interesting than he has ever been. The Banished as a faction are way more interesting than people give them credit for, and I really like this narrative positioning of a story being told after the major events. Gameplay-wise, I'm glad to report that Halo works well enough in its open world. I was scared that it would be either like really empty and pointless or feel shoehorned in and tedious, but it works well enough. It feels like several kind of okay Halo encounters stitched together, and you get to choose which order you go through them in. The weapon variants and vehicles that you unlock for doing these things is just enough of a reward to make me want to do them. Moment to moment, the combat is fantastic. Playing on Legendary, I was constantly switching weapons and equipment and making use of all the tools available to me. Combat never got to the point where it felt repetitive or boring. The boss fights almost got there. The bosses are definitely fairly bullet spongy, but having the right equipment, having the right weapons, and having the bosses kill you very, very quickly really kept things from getting boring. I feel like it could have used another month or 2 in the oven. I mean, it is missing co-op, it is missing chapter select, so I am now currently stuck 3 skulls away from 100% because I can't go back and get them without starting a new campaign. But overall, I feel that the foundation here is solid. Halo Infinite is supposed to be a platform for future Halo releases, and in that aspect, I'm fairly confident. It feels solid, it feels strong enough to build upon. The campaign leaves a lot of story open for expansion in potential future campaign DLC. I'm looking forward to it. Halo Infinite Multiplayer. Halo Infinite's multiplayer is free to play, which means I have to talk about its monetization because it doesn't feel good. In previous Halo games, you had way more options for customization in multiplayer than you do in Infinite. And that's fair, that's expected. We're moving from box software model to free to play. Except you can buy a campaign, and there are some unlocks in it, but they're just different color schemes. We've lost the ability to pick our own colors. We've lost the ability to mix and match armors outside of this weird arbitrary armor core system that they've got going on, which, by the way, bots sometimes have cross-core armor customization anyways. And instead we get this battle pass, which gets us some stuff that we can't fully utilize to mix and match, and a rotating cosmetics shop which sells bundles of armor colors with little tiny pieces of armor, which I really don't think are worth the value. But on the bright side, cat ears, and the game is good? Hey, it's really, really good. Halo Infinite's multiplayer is the most fun I've had playing a multiplayer first-person shooter in a long time. It hits this magical sweet spot of feeling like a Halo game, but still being a modern shooter. The Halo sandbox approach is really shining here. Sure, it has its issues. I haven't been able to get into a big team battle match first try in weeks. I've had the occasional desync, but nothing out of the ordinary really for video games. And maybe the modes right now are fairly limited, but what we have here is solid. And future expansion is only going to make it better. And 343 have already demonstrated that they're at least listening to player feedback with the changes they've made so far to the Battle Pass and event system. And with Foundation this solid, I can't help but be optimistic about the future of this game. Inscription. I don't even want to talk about it. I shouldn't talk about it. If you want to play this game, just go to the Steam page and just look at it. If it looks like something you'd enjoy, just buy it. Don't look anything up. Don't do any more research. Just buy it. It's worth it. It's really good. Play it. It's great. What I will say is that Inscription is a very well crafted game. I typically hate horror games. I can't handle it. So when a horror game is this compelling and this interesting so that I keep wanting to play it, that's high praise. Out of all the games I've played this year, Inscription is probably my favorite. And that's every game I played in 2021. Altogether, a really solid year. Some really, really great highlights, some great games. Had a great time. 2022's looking pretty good. I mean, it has Elden Ring, right? We that's real. I'm not sure about anything else. Starfield, they've only shown us concept art so far, right? We haven't seen anything. It's not real. Breath of the Wild 2, it doesn't have a title. That's a working title. It's not real. It's not real. They're imaginary games that will never come out. Oh. But Elden Ring, that's real. Elden Ring. In any case, that's me. That's all I have to say. That's every game I played in 2021. Not a bad year for video games, all things considered. Other aspects of the year could have gone better, but hopefully 2022 will be even better. What are some of the games that you played this year that have stuck with you? Be sure to like and subscribe for when I upload a video sometime in the next 6 months so YouTube doesn't take my monetization away. Bye-bye!